Morning all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be able to share MLA's producer adoption programs results and some of the programs we offer which help support red meat producers and particularly I guess today beef producers in implementing practices that help lift their production, their profitability and importantly their sustainability. So my role at MLA is that I oversee the program. We work with over 120 service providers across the country to implement these programs. I think a really key part, and particularly for a key challenge for the beef industry, is that we operate on every inch of Australia's landscape. So that is a huge diversity of land types, production systems, as well as ownership and management structures as well. So inherently that is a big challenge for us to try and develop programs that help assist producers right across the country. So quickly I just want to touch on and give you a sneak peek into some of our results from our impact results from the end of this financial year. I want to talk to some of the programs that we offer and actions that producers are taking, and then I also want to highlight on, I guess, the horizon, the more to do, and hopefully close out some time for questions. So this is a bit of a sneak peek on our impact assessment, but at the close of end of financial year 25, the program's engaged over 8,000 red meat producers, and in total those producers are managing 16% of Australia's land mass, which is a huge win, I think, for the industry. And the producers who have engaged in our programs manage a total of 6.1 million head of cattle. We've delivered annual net benefits to those producers of $81.6 million. And of all the events that we've offered and training workshops and programs that we've run around the country, they've valued their involvement in those events as a minimum 8 out of 10. So we're delivering really great programs that are being well received by producers and then helping them with their profitability and production, and also touching on some of their sustainability. So how do we go about achieving that impact? We follow this adoption strategy, which inherently can be a really short time frame. It might be 6 to 12 months that it takes for a producer to implement a practice change on farm. Could take 10 years. It just depends on where they're up to and where their business goals are. But essentially we're making sure that in our activities we're offering awareness activities to allow producers to become familiar with what the new technology, research outcome, or even existing best management practice is that they can implement. If they're curious about that from their engagement at those awareness activities, we then like to be able to offer short-term training programs that can help those producers improve their knowledge and skills. And once they attend those training exercises, they then may have the confidence to be able to start to implement those practices back on property. So we offer long-term practice change activities as well. And these are really focused on peer-to-peer learning pieces, but also around reducing the risk, business risk associated with implementing a new practice on property. And underpinning our strategy is our livestock advisors who are help supporting red meat producers as they implement these practices. So we also make investments in that too. So I guess these are some of the programs that we offer. So some of you may be familiar with our Beef Up Forum. Some of our short-term training programs are our Edge Network, which I'll touch on a bit further, as well as our electronic learning platform and Bredwell Fedwell program. And then I spoke to our long-term practice change programs. So these are our producer demonstration site and profitable grazing systems. I'll go into these in a little bit more detail. But to start off, some of you may have heard about the Carbon Edge program that we've been offering since late 2023. We've delivered a total of 17 workshops over, I guess, about roughly the last 18 months. That's engaged over 200 producers and 74 advisors. In all, those producers are managing close to 500,000 head of cattle and 7.9 million hectares. 94% of those participants have flagged that they will implement a change as a result of participating in a Carbon Edge workshop. They value it highly, and we've seen improvement in knowledge and skills. In the Carbon Edge workshop, we really focus, it's a 2-day workshop, and we take producers through the 101 around carbon emissions, how they work, where the opportunities might be, sequestration opportunities as well. We then help those producers develop an action plan so that they can start to implement some activities once they return home. A really key piece that producers work through is that they start to realise the opportunities that they can undertake, but also it really highlights that there is a need for them to improve their data collection as well as their data analysis around particularly establishing their baseline before they even undertake any action to reduce emissions or increase sequestration. We've offered these workshops throughout New South Wales, the NT, Queensland, South Australia, Tassie and Victoria, and we continue to get plenty of interest to deliver these workshops. We've got about 7 deliverers that are trained up to run them across the country. Some of the testimonials we've had from producers is highlighted here, and I'll quickly just touch on them, but for one of our Northern Territory producers, carbon doesn't have to be just about a registered project. There's things you can do with coals or other supply chains. We had some feedback from producers at Penola. Carbon Edge has dispelled a lot of myths on how hard CN30 is going to be. We've got to go this way and be accountable, and it's not as bad as what everyone is making out. Carbon Edge has exceeded my expectations, especially as I came in with a jaded view. The things I can have an influence, this has given me ammunition to see where I am and to review annually. So I guess this just highlights some of the feedback we've had from producers, but it really, the observation I've seen with sitting in with producers in those workshops is it's really just demystifying a lot of it and identifying where the opportunities are, and particularly the opportunities that tie in with good management practices that help improve productivity as well. So we also have our standalone other Edge network courses, so these are 2 to 3 days, and we cover things like Business Edge, so this focuses on how producers can get a better handle on their financial literacy, as well as what are the profit drivers within their business. And inevitably they are able to walk away with key measures to help them benchmark their profitability. We also run Breeding Edge courses, Animal Nutrition Edge, Grazing Land Management Edge, which I'll go into quickly, just a bit more detail. So our Breeding Edge workshop, this is a 3-day workshop and really takes producers through how they can measure their reproductive performance, but also then to take action to start to select for animals that are either making sure that bulls are fertile and operating at a good standard, how they can make genetic selections in purchasing those bulls, but also how to put selective pressure on their females to make sure that they're giving them a calf every year, and most importantly then removing those females that aren't meeting that benchmark. That provides great opportunities for producers in being able to reduce their grazing pressure without compromising the number of calves and then animals that they're going to sell later on. And that then has benefits for land management as well. Again, producers, when they wrap up from this workshop, will have a herd management plan, so they're able to identify the first actions that they undertake when they go home. This is Catherine December last year when we ran one of the Breeding Edge workshops up there. So we often see a really great mix of producers, so those that have been in the industry a long time, but also a lot of new young people into the industry who are looking to upskill. Our Grazing Fundamentals Edge is a 1-day workshop. This is very much an introductory workshop into the principles around good grazing management. So producers are taken through identifying their pasture species, how to measure the amount of pasture available, and how to measure the animal grazing pressure that they have. They're also introduced into how to assess land conditions, so looking for erosion, weeds, and other issues that might be compromising the sustainability on their land. It's a great introduction into our 3-day grazing land management workshop, which expands on those principles. Finally, we also offer our profitable grazing systems. So this is a different style of extension activity than Edge, in that over a 12 to 18 month period, producers will come together in a small peer-to-peer learning program. They'll do some group training exercises, but then they'll also have some one-on-one coaching from the facilitator or advisor who's delivering the program, and helps them to implement practices on farm as they go through the program. We've got a couple of standalone packages that we license out to different deliverers across the country, one of which is Grass to Dollars. This has been very popular in Southern Australia, a little bit like Grazing Land Management in Northern Australia, in that again it takes producers through measuring, well, how much feed do I have on offer, what's the feed quality, and what's my grazing pressure from the animals I'm running. Also, what opportunities do I have for improving the pasture or rehabilitating the pasture? So that's some of the producers that we've got down in South Australia in that image. We also have another program called Building Better Breeders, which is offered across the southern half of Australia. So like Breeding Edge in Northern Australia, Building Better Breeders really helps focus on reproduction efficiency, identifying when you should be joining and carving out based on feed availability, how you can use genetic selection tools, and nutritional management and pasture assessment over that 12-month period. Did just want to touch on Bred Well, Fed Well, which is a one-day training program, again picking up on matching pasture management, but also how to use genetic tools. And this is such a great example of how we tie in adoption programs at MLA with some of our research. So we're obviously been undertaking quite a bit of research with various partners on how we can get EBVs for emissions reductions. Bred Well, Fed Well helps educate producers on how to use EBVs and make that genetic selection. So the two together give us a pathway for how we can reduce emissions into the future just through genetic selection as a tool. So very much one-day workshop, practical activities, which the starting image I had was of how to assess your bulls, how to pick based on both physical attributes but also genetic attributes. And just closing out, so I've spoken to some of our standalone programs, but we also have a number of customised adoption projects and partnership projects. One of which we've just recently executed is with the South Australian Department of Primary Industries, and very much looking at sustainable solutions for producers in that area. We're looking over a 3-year period to work with 80 producers across 6 demonstration sites on a whole host of practices that they can implement to reduce their emissions. Practices such as rotational grazing, pasture composition, pregnancy status and body condition scoring. So really looking forward to seeing that project come through. And I guess just touching on this more to do, which I always feel quite a lot, and I know that the industry is really calling out adoption as a priority in the next 5 years, so always very conscious that there's a lot more to do. We've got a lot of opportunities. I touched on earlier that producers are really needing to understand, well, how can I collect more data? What's the type of data I need to collect, and how do I analyse that in order to establish baselines? We know one of the key successes to achieving adoption is providing producers with peer-to-peer learning opportunities. And in order to do this, we need a lot of partners around the country to work with us on this. There's other opportunities coming through, obviously what we'll see in biodiversity, and some continued research that comes through from MLA. So I guess I just wanted to flag from today's presentation, I hope I've highlighted for those of you in the room some training programs that are available to producers that may fit with your business, but also just to put a call out today that if you're interested in partnering with us in delivering some of these programs, I'd really love to talk with you as well. So I'm here all day, and yeah, I'm not sure if I've quite got enough time for questions, Jacob, but happy to chat over the break. Thank you.